On the Halloween night of 1978, just outside Sioux City, Iowa, three 13-year-old companions, Whitney House, Kent Pine, and Kenneth Nofree, embarked on their trick-or-treating adventure around 5 p.m. Unfortunately, only one of them would make it back home that fateful night. The events that unfolded during those hours left an indelible mark on their memories, and Kent recounts the tale years later. The rendezvous took place at Whitney's house, filled with anticipation for what promised to be another enjoyable Halloween, brimming with candy. Their plan was to visit as many houses as possible, armed with pillowcases to gauge the bounty they could accumulate. As they strolled down the street towards the first house, the air buzzed with excitement as laughter and discussions about each other's costumes filled the atmosphere. That year, Kent was Dracula, while his friends donned various monster costumes. Approximately an hour into their venture, Kent began to notice a red-colored van trailing behind them. Although he had glimpsed it earlier, the van's persistence along the circuitous route raised suspicions. Hesitant to dampen the mood, he refrained from sharing his concerns with his friends, not entirely certain if the van's presence was intentional. Undeterred, they continued their quest from house to house. Upon reaching an area flanked by cornfields before the next neighborhood, Kent instinctively glanced backward. There, some distance away, trailed the red van. Kent finally broke the silence, revealing his unease. "Guys, I didn't want to say anything earlier, but I think the van behind us has been following us for a while," he confessed. Whitney, alarmed, sought confirmation, to which Kent replied, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure now." Faced with this unsettling revelation, Kenneth questioned their next move. Kent proposed hastening their pace to reach the next house, where they could seek help from the residents or call the police. Agreed, they quickened their steps. Suddenly, the ominous van accelerated, sending shivers down Kent's spine. The vehicle drew alongside them, slowing down as a man inside fixed a piercing gaze upon them. Kent couldn't forget the chilling stare. The man's window was down, revealing an arm adorned with a tattoo reading Samhain, along with the numbers and symbol 3+1. Unfamiliar with the term Samhain at the time, Kent sensed an underlying threat. Determined to distance themselves, they continued walking briskly. However, their apprehensions intensified when the van abruptly halted. Acting on instinct, Kent dropped his candy-laden pillowcase and sprinted towards the nearby cornfields. Vaulting over a ditch, he ran, glancing back to see the man pursuing him, as well as his friends entering the field. Fear gripped Kent, focusing his thoughts solely on escaping the clutches of the pursuing man. The vast expanse of the cornfield stretched out endlessly, and my hope was to lose the pursuing man within their labyrinth. However, the challenge arose as darkness enveloped the field, leaving me disoriented about my direction. The fear of inadvertently circling back and encountering the man loomed large in my mind, along with concerns for the safety of my friends who were hopefully evading him. As I sprinted through the cornfield, I held my hands and arms in front of me to shield myself from the discomfort of repeatedly colliding with corn stalks. Glancing over my shoulder, I strained to listen for any signs of pursuit, but the eerie silence persisted. After running for a while, I needed to pause and catch my breath. I settled down, attempting to muffle my heavy breathing despite the difficulty. In the moments of relative calm, I strained my ears to detect any sounds, be it the man or my friends. However, the stillness prevailed, creating a sense of isolation. Suddenly, a cry pierced the silence, a desperate plea from one of my friends, likely Whitney. With renewed urgency, I realized the imperative to escape the field and seek help once more. Concerns about choosing the right direction weighed on me, as going the wrong way could lead to further disorientation within the vast cornfield. Nevertheless, I had no alternative but to press on. I picked a path I hoped would lead me out while also steering clear of the man. My journey through the field continued, punctuated by occasional stops to listen for any clues, but the only sound was the rhythmic thud of my heart in my chest. After an extended period of running, I finally reached the edge of the cornfield. Before emerging, I cautiously peered out, ensuring the man was nowhere in sight. Despite the darkness, my eyes had adjusted enough to discern a dirt road bordering the field. Though uncertain of my location, my sole focus was obtaining help for my friends. Opting to go right, I walked briskly, fueled by exhaustion but driven by the urgency of the situation. As I traversed the unfamiliar terrain, the distant hum of an approaching vehicle reached my ears. The absence of visible lights heightened my anxiety, contemplating the possibility that the man had turned them off deliberately. Swiftly retreating into the cornfield, I moved far enough to obscure the road from view but stayed close enough to maintain a sense of direction. Crouched in fear, I fervently prayed that the man wouldn't discover my hiding place. A few minutes later, the sound of the approaching vehicle grew louder. Abruptly, it halted nearly in front of my concealed position. A door opened, and footsteps emerged. The instinct to flee crossed my mind, but revealing my location seemed too risky. Opting to stay crouched, I observed the unfolding events. Suddenly, a faint light emanated from the direction of the dirt road, likely the man with a flashlight. Concern gripped me as I contemplated the footprints I might have left on the dirt road. Prepared to bolt if he ventured into the corn, I anxiously waited, the suspense heightening the fear. Time seemed to stretch as the man sprinted through the cornfield, charging directly toward me. In an instant, my fight-or-flight instinct kicked in, propelling me to jump up and dash in the opposite direction. A sense of impending doom accompanied my run, yet I persisted, driven by the imperative to escape. Running until near exhaustion, I halted abruptly, hands on my knees, desperately catching my breath. A cautious tilt of my head revealed only eerie silence, punctuated by the occasional rustle of corn leaves in the wind. As I regained composure, survival became my singular focus, indifferent to the possibility of getting lost in the vast field. I knew that finding my way home might take all night, but facing the man could mean death. The memory of his malevolent face lingered, and thoughts of my friends occupied my mind as I fervently prayed for their safety. Resuming my journey, I walked the path I had run, frequently checking for signs of pursuit. Hours passed before I reached the edge of the field, this time encountering an asphalt road. Continuing along, I eventually reached the main road, where I flagged down a passing car that took me home. Upon arrival, the police were already there, and the clock showed 2 a.m. Seated down, I recounted the harrowing tale. Whitney and Kenneth remained unaccounted for, but the police disclosed the discovery of our candy-filled pillowcases along the initial route into the field. The authorities hurriedly left to search for the van and continue the quest for my missing friends. My parents, visibly distraught, were unlike anything I had witnessed before. Going to bed around 4 a.m., I lay awake, torn between the desire to aid in the search and the paralyzing fear of encountering the man outside. Around 3 p.m. that day, a knock echoed through our door, and it was the same police officers who had been present when I returned home. They conveyed that Kenneth had been located, discovered hiding in the middle of the field a few hundred yards from where we had jumped the ditch. However, it wasn't until 8:45 p.m. that we received another visit from the police. The news they shared, and what we later discovered, has cast a shadow over my entire life, haunting my thoughts every day without fail. The officers revealed that they had found the red-colored van parked along one of the dirt roads. Upon opening the van, they made a grim discovery. Whitney was bound in the back, alongside an adult woman named Autumn Reese. The revelation awaiting them in the driver's seat left the police astounded and bewildered. The man with the tattoos was indeed found, but his decomposed state suggested he had been deceased for several weeks. Additionally, they uncovered an address leading to the apartment where he had been residing, located hours away. Plans were underway to investigate, involving collaboration with the local police in that area. The authorities assured us they would keep us informed of their findings. Approximately a week later, a phone call from the police requested that all of us, including our parents, visit the police station for a discussion. Upon arrival, we were ushered into a meeting room where the chief of police entered with several officers. After pulling up chairs, the chief opened a file containing papers and photographs, took a deep breath, and began, "What I'm about to share may sound peculiar and hard to believe, but it's what we discovered at the apartment of the man with the van. Upon entering, we immediately noticed the same phrase written all over the walls: 3 + 1 must die. It was inscribed everywhere.